Ethan Cole arrived at Station Virex aboard a silent transport shuttle. The station floated alone in deep space, white and smooth like it had never known conflict. It was known as a peaceful research station, shared by many species, yet feared by many humans. Ethan stepped onto the platform with calm movements. He was trained not to rush, not to stare, and not to judge too quickly. Humans were guests here, rare ones, and rare things were always watched. As the doors closed behind him, the noise faded into a heavy silence. Alien crew members stood along the hall, speaking softly until they noticed him. Their voices lowered, then stopped completely. Ethan felt the change immediately, not fear, but tension, like a rule had just been broken by his arrival. He followed the guiding lights down the main corridor. The station was clean, bright, and carefully ordered, yet something felt wrong beneath the calm design. As he passed through the central hall, Ethan noticed a wide, empty space ahead. No one stood there, no one crossed it. Crew members walked around it as if it did not exist. At the far end of that empty space, she stood alone. The alien woman was tall and still, her posture straight but guarded. Her skin carried a soft green tone, smooth and unmarked. Long, pale, braided hair flowed down her back like woven light. Her eyes were calm, but everyone else looked afraid. Ethan slowed his steps, not because he feared her, but because he sensed the fear of others. Whispers began behind him, not words, just warnings carried by breath and movement. "That is her," someone whispered. "The Forbidden One," another said. Ethan stopped at the edge of the empty space. He watched the way no one stood near her. No guards, no scientists, no companions. She did not move. She did not look angry. She simply existed. A senior alien officer approached Ethan quickly, her voice low and tense. "Do not cross that line," she said. "You are not assigned to her sector." "Why?" Ethan asked calmly. The officer hesitated. "She is dangerous," she finally said. Ethan looked again at the alien woman. Dangerous things usually showed signs of aggression. She showed none. "She has harmed no one," the officer added quickly. "But fear reacts before reason." Ethan nodded slightly. He understood fear. Humans had lived with it their entire history. As he turned to leave, a sudden noise echoed from a nearby station console. A junior crew member panicked, stumbling backward. The movement startled several others. The alien woman lifted her head slightly. Her braided hair shifted softly, almost like it sensed emotion. The room froze. Ethan stayed still. No weapon raised. No alarm sounded. The panic faded as quickly as it started. Nothing happened, yet the fear remained. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. Not fear. Curiosity mixed with concern. Later, during orientation, Ethan learned only fragments. Her species had been used in wars long ago. Their abilities misunderstood. Their emotions feared. She must never be touched, the guide warned. Contact leads to consequences. That sentence stayed with Ethan. Touched, not attacked, not challenged. That night, Ethan stood alone near the observation window. The stars outside were quiet and distant. He thought about isolation, about being feared for what others believed you were. Across the hall, through a transparent barrier, he saw her again, still alone, still avoided. Their eyes met for a brief moment. No anger, no threat, only awareness. Ethan took a slow breath and stepped closer. Voices behind him rose in alarm. Hands reached out to stop him. "Do not!" someone shouted. Ethan raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. His fingers moved toward her braided hair, careful and steady. The station seemed to hold its breath. If you enjoy slow-build HFY sci-fi stories like this, please consider subscribing to the channel for more journeys like this one. Ethan's hand hovered inches away from her hair, and in that moment, everything was about to change. Ethan's hand remained in the air, steady and open. The space between his fingers and her braided hair felt heavier than any weapon. Around them, the station froze. Crew members stopped breathing normally. Security officers tightened their grips. Someone whispered a warning that sounded like fear itself. The alien woman did not move away. Her eyes stayed on Ethan's face, unblinking. For the first time, she did not look distant. She looked uncertain. Slowly, carefully, Ethan closed the final distance. His fingers brushed against one strand of her pale, braided hair. The contact was gentle, almost respectful. Nothing exploded. No alarms screamed. No energy burst filled the hall. Instead, a soft pulse moved through the air. Not visible but felt, like a deep breath taken by the station itself. The alien woman inhaled sharply. Her eyes widened, not in anger, but shock. Her body tensed for a brief moment, then relaxed. Several crew members stepped back in panic. One security officer shouted for containment protocols. Another froze completely, unsure what to do. Ethan did not pull his hand away. He did not press closer either. He simply stayed, calm and present. The alien woman lifted her own hand slowly. Her movement was careful, almost afraid. She touched the back of Ethan's wrist lightly, as if confirming he was real. The station lights flickered once, then stabilized. A senior officer rushed forward, voice shaking. "What have you done?" she demanded. Ethan slowly lowered his hand and stepped back. "I showed respect," he said simply. The alien woman looked around for the first time. Her gaze moved over the fearful faces, the armed guards, the distance everyone kept. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft and used and controlled. "No harm," she said. Those two words hit harder than any alarm. The hall erupted into noise. Orders were shouted. Data pads activated. Containment teams were summoned. The alien woman did not resist as energy restraints formed around her position. She did not fight. She only looked at Ethan once more. There was something new in her eyes. Not fear, not anger, but recognition. Ethan was escorted away immediately. Hands never touched him. But the message was clear. He had crossed a line no human had crossed before. Inside a secure chamber, questions came fast. Why did you do it? Did you feel anything unusual? Were you influenced? Ethan answered calmly. I felt nothing dangerous. I saw someone treated as an object, not a person. That answer unsettled them more than the act itself. Hours later, alone in his quarters, Ethan felt the weight of what had happened. He replayed the moment again and again. The softness of the contact, the way the station did not collapse, the way fear had been proven wrong. Outside his door, activity increased. Voices argued in low tones. Words like protocol, risk, and history were repeated often. A private message appeared on his terminal. No sender name, just one line. Contact confirmed. Emotional resonance detected. Ethan frowned slightly. Emotional resonance was not a weapon. It was connection. Across the station, the alien woman sat alone in a containment field, not restrained by force, but by fear of what she represented. She touched her own braided hair slowly, the same strand Ethan had touched. Her breathing was uneven. Memories stirred that she had buried long ago. Someone had touched her without fear, without command, without intent to control. That single act spread faster than any official report. Crew members whispered, some in disbelief, some in quiet hope. She did not react. She did not attack. He was not harmed. The station had been built on rules, but rules existed because of fear, and fear had just been challenged. Late in the cycle, Ethan received another message. This one marked urgent. Council review initiated. Human involvement under evaluation. Ethan leaned back slowly. He knew consequences would follow, but he also knew something else. For the first time, the Forbidden One had been seen, not as a threat, but as someone capable of trust. And trust, once awakened, could never be contained again. Ethan Cole was not allowed to see her again right away. After the incident in the main hall, the station changed its rhythm. Security patrols doubled, restricted zones expanded, and conversations stopped whenever Ethan entered a room. He was not confined, but he was clearly watched. During the next cycle, Ethan was summoned to a private briefing room. The walls were dark, the light low. 3 senior officials waited for him, all alien women with controlled expressions. "You have caused instability," one of them said calmly. "Not through violence," another added, "but through emotional disruption." Ethan listened without interruption. Finally he asked, "Then tell me the truth about her." The room went silent. For a long moment no one answered. Then the oldest among them activated a holographic display. Images filled the air. Old star systems, damaged stations, forgotten wars. "She is called Lyra," the official said. "Her species was once created for survival under extreme conditions." The images showed beings like Lyra standing in hostile environments, radiation storms, collapsing worlds, endless battles. "They were not born as weapons," the official continued, "but they were used as them." Ethan watched closely. Lyra in the images looked younger, confused, surrounded by armed figures. Their nervous systems evolved differently, another official explained. "Emotion and energy are linked." The display zoomed in on Lyra's hair, long, braided, alive with faint light. "Her hair is not decoration," the official said quietly. "It is part of her sensory system. Touching it is the deepest form of trust for her kind." Ethan felt his chest tighten slightly. "So people were afraid," he said. "Yes," the official replied, "because fear caused reactions." The images changed again, showing past incidents. A researcher stepping too close in panic. A guard raising a weapon too fast. Energy surges triggered by stress, not intent. "She never attacked," the official said firmly, "but fear around her created harm." Ethan understood now. People feared her power, but it was their fear that caused damage. "Why keep her here?" Ethan asked. "Because she is valuable," one said, "and because no one else would take responsibility." The briefing ended without answers about her future. Only one warning remained. "You must not approach her again." Ethan nodded, but his silence was not agreement. Later that cycle, as he walked through a research corridor, Ethan noticed something unusual. A group of technicians stood near a sealed chamber, their voices tense, their movements nervous. He recognized the chamber designation, Lyra's containment area. A sudden alert chimed softly. "Stress test in progress." Ethan stopped. "What test?" he asked. One technician hesitated. "They are measuring her response thresholds," she said. "They want proof she is still dangerous." Inside the chamber, Lyra stood alone. Lights shifted colors rapidly. Sounds changed rhythm. Pressure fluctuated slightly. She did not fight. She did not shout. She simply endured. Ethan watched her hands curl slowly into fists, not in anger, but in restraint. "She expects pain," Ethan said quietly. No one answered him. A spike appeared on the data screen. Alarm levels rose. "End the test," Ethan said calmly. "She is not failing, you are provoking." The technicians looked unsure. Orders were orders, but something in Ethan's voice carried weight. The test stopped moments later. The alarms faded. Inside the chamber, Lyra slowly lifted her head. Her eyes met Ethan's through the transparent barrier. She did not smile. She did not speak. But her breathing eased, just slightly. That moment said more than any data file. Later, Ethan received an unauthorized message on his terminal. This one carried no warning codes, only words. "They fear her because no one ever chose her." Ethan sat quietly for a long time. He finally understood the truth. No one dared to love her, not because she was unlovable, but because loving her required courage, calm, and trust, things most species avoided when faced with the unknown. Across the station, Lyra sat alone once more, But now something had changed. Someone had touched her without fear. Someone had stayed calm when others panicked. And for the first time, she wondered what it meant to be seen, not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as a living being waiting to be understood. The next cycle began with silence that felt sharp. Not the calm kind, but the kind that warned something was about to happen. Ethan Cole felt it the moment he stepped into the central corridor. Crew members moved faster than usual. Their eyes avoided his, doors sealed more often, and security lights glowed a shade brighter. He checked the station schedule and saw the change immediately. Lyra's status had been updated. Observation phase ended. Compliance testing authorized. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. They were done watching. Now they wanted proof. The testing chamber was deep within the station, far from public paths, far from curious eyes, built for containment, not care. Lyra stood inside the chamber when the first test began, tall and still, her hands resting at her sides, her pale braided hair hanging quietly down her back. The walls shifted color, from soft white to harsh blue, then to warning red. Sound frequencies changed without rhythm, designed to confuse, designed to exhaust. Outside the chamber, officials watched from behind layered screens. Numbers scrolled. Energy readings spiked and fell. They spoke in low voices, careful and cold. "She must react," one said. "We need confirmation," another replied. Inside, Lyra did not scream. She did not lash out. She closed her eyes and focused on breathing. Her shoulders trembled slightly, but she remained standing. Ethan arrived at the observation deck as the second test began. Temperature dropped suddenly inside the chamber, cold enough to make the air shimmer. "She is enduring," Ethan said quietly. "That should be enough." "No," an official replied. "Endurance does not prove safety." Ethan turned to face her, his voice calm but firm. "You are not testing danger," he said. "You are creating it." They ignored him. The third test was worse. Emotional triggers, old recordings from her past, battle noise, orders shouted in harsh tones. Lyra's breathing became uneven. Her fingers curled slowly. Energy flickered faintly around her hair. Not explosive, restrained. Ethan felt it in his chest. The weight of someone being pushed not to learn, but to break. "Stop," he said again, louder this time. "She is not resisting because she trusts you. She trusts no one." An official snapped. "That is because no one earned it," Ethan replied. A sharp spike flashed across the monitors. Alarms chirped briefly, then silenced. "She is reaching threshold," someone announced. Inside the chamber, Lyra opened her eyes. They were bright now, not with rage, but with something deeper. Pain held tightly behind control. Ethan stepped closer to the barrier. He did not raise his voice. He did not pound on the glass. "Lyra," he said calmly, "you are not alone." The chamber fell quiet, not by command, but by hesitation. Lyra turned her head slightly. Her eyes found Ethan through the layers of transparent shielding. Her breathing slowed, just a little. "End the test," Ethan said softly. "You have your data." For a moment, no one spoke. Then the chamber lights dimmed. The sound faded. The pressure normalized. Lyra remained standing, barely, but standing. When the chamber doors opened, she swayed slightly. Two guards moved forward. Uncertain, Ethan raised a hand, not in command, but request. "I'll help," he said. They hesitated, then allowed it. Ethan did not touch her hair this time. He stood close enough to offer balance. Nothing more. Lyra steadied herself. Her voice, when it came, was quiet and simple. "Why?" she asked. Not angry, not accusing. "Because fear keeps hurting you," Ethan replied. "And someone had to say no." Later, alone in his quarters, Ethan accessed restricted files he was never meant to see. Records marked confidential. Transfer orders. weaponization proposals. They were planning to move Lyra, not to protect others, but to use her again. Ethan closed the files slowly, his expression calm, but his resolve clear. Across the station, Lyra sat alone in recovery, exhausted, but unbroken. The station had tried to prove she was dangerous. Instead, it had revealed something else. She was strong enough to endure cruelty, and gentle enough not to return it. And that, Ethan knew, was exactly what they were afraid of. The emergency began without warning. No slow alarms, no countdown, just a sudden violent tremor that ran through Station Virex like a shockwave. Ethan Cole felt the floor shift beneath his feet as the lights flashed red. A deep metallic sound echoed through the structure. Hull breach detected in Outer Sector 7. Crew members froze. Some shouted orders. Others stood still, unsure which protocol applied. Ethan's training took over instantly. He grabbed the nearest console and scanned the data. Pressure loss. Energy imbalance. Multiple sections at risk. "This is not a drill," a voice announced, shaking. Containment failure spreading. Panic followed faster than logic. Alien crew rushed in different directions, some trying to seal doors, others trying to contact command. Ethan saw the real problem immediately. Sector 7 was connected to Lyra's containment wing. He turned and ran, ignoring the startled looks around him. "Stop him!" someone shouted. "He is not authorized." But authority meant little when lives were seconds away from being lost. The corridor lights flickered wildly as Ethan reached the containment area. Emergency barriers were already forming, sealing Lyra inside. Through the transparent field, he saw her. She stood upright despite the shaking walls, her hair glowing faintly, responding to the chaos. Her eyes wide, but focused. She felt it too. The station's pain. The lives at risk. "She cannot be released," a security officer shouted behind Ethan. "If she reacts, the damage could be worse." Ethan did not turn around. "She is already reacting," he said calmly. "She is holding back." Another tremor hit, stronger than before. A nearby panel exploded in sparks. Someone screamed. Ethan stepped closer to the barrier. "Lyra," he called out, steady and clear. "The station needs help." Her gaze locked onto his instantly. She took a sharp breath, shaking her head slightly. "They will chain me again," she said softly, her voice nearly lost under the alarms. "They will not," Ethan replied. "Not if you choose to act." The barrier flickered as power levels spiked dangerously. Time was running out. Ethan placed his hand against the containment field. "I trust you," he said. "Do you trust yourself?" Lyra's hands trembled. Her breathing quickened, then slowly steadied. "Yes," she whispered. Ethan turned sharply toward the security team. "Release the field," he said firmly. "If you don't, this station will tear itself apart." "Are you willing to take responsibility?" the officer demanded. Ethan nodded without hesitation. "Yes." Another explosion echoed from a distant sector. That decided it. The containment field powered down. The air shifted instantly. Lyra stepped forward, free. For a brief moment, everyone held their breath. Lyra closed her eyes. Her braided hair lifted slowly, glowing brighter. Not violently, not wildly, but with control. Energy flowed outward from her like a calm wave, stabilizing pressure, reinforcing weakened structures, redirecting power where it was needed most. The alarms softened, then fell silent one by one. Crew members stared in disbelief. "She is stabilizing the breach," someone whispered. Lyra moved through the corridor with purpose, her movements smooth and precise. She did not lash out. She did not dominate. She protected. When a damaged bulkhead threatened to collapse, she raised one hand. Energy wrapped around the structure, holding it in place. When injured crew members were trapped, she cleared debris carefully, never once losing control. Ethan followed at a distance, watching not a weapon, but a guardian. Minutes later, the station systems returned to normal. Emergency lights faded. Pressure stabilized. The crisis was over. Lyra stood still in the corridor, her energy dimming, her strength finally giving way. She stumbled. Ethan reached her just in time, supporting her weight. She did not pull away. "I was not afraid," she said weakly. "I wanted to help." "You did?" Ethan replied softly. Crew members gathered around them. No weapons raised. No orders shouted. Only silence, heavy with realization. The station had feared Lyra for what she could do, but when it mattered most, she chose restraint, care, and compassion. As medical teams arrived, Lyra looked at the gathered faces. "They always said I was dangerous," she murmured. Ethan met her gaze. "Dangerous things destroy," he said. "You saved." Word spread through Station Virex faster than any official report. The emergency that should have proven their fears had revealed the truth instead. Lyra was never the threat. Fear was, and now, that truth could no longer be ignored. The station did not return to normal after the emergency. It only appeared calm on the surface. Underneath, everything had changed. Lyra was moved to a recovery chamber, not locked, not restrained, but watched more closely than ever before. Ethan Cole stood outside the chamber, arms relaxed at his sides. Through the transparent wall, he could see her resting, her breathing slow, her pale braided hair spread gently across the surface beside her. For the first time since arriving at Station Virex, Ethan felt anger, not loud, not explosive, but sharp and focused. The council summoned him soon after. The chamber was full this time. More officials, more observers, all eyes on him. "You broke protocol," one council member said. "You released a dangerous asset," another added. Ethan did not raise his voice. He did not defend himself emotionally. "She saved the station," he said calmly. "You all saw it. She is powerful," the council leader replied, "and power must be controlled." Ethan stepped forward slightly. "No," he said, "power must be trusted, or it becomes fear." Murmurs spread through the chamber, some angry, some uncertain. "She acted because of you," one official accused. "Your influence destabilizes her." Ethan met her gaze without hesitation. "She acted because she chose to," he replied. For the first time in her life, the council leader's expression tightened. "You speak of choice," she said, "but her kind has never been given one." "That is the problem," Ethan answered. "You never gave her the chance to be more than a weapon." Silence followed, heavy and uncomfortable. Outside the chamber, Lyra woke slowly, her body still weak, but her mind clear. She sensed the tension before she heard it. Raised voices, sharp tones, fear wrapped in authority. A medical attendant leaned close, whispering, "They are deciding your future." Lyra closed her eyes briefly. She already knew what that usually meant. Back in the council chamber, the discussion turned colder. "A transport is ready," one official said. "She will be transferred to a secure facility." Ethan felt the weight of those words. Secure meant controlled. Facility meant weapon. "She saved your lives," Ethan said, "and this is your answer." The council leader looked at him carefully. "You care for her," she said slowly. "That makes you unreliable." Ethan did not deny it. "I respect her," he replied. "That makes me honest." At that moment, the chamber doors opened. Every head turned. Lyra stood there, unarmed, unguarded. She moved slowly but with purpose. Her presence filled the room, not with fear, but with silence. "I heard enough," she said softly. Security shifted uneasily. No one moved to stop her. "They say love makes me dangerous," Lyra continued. "They say connection turns me into a weapon." She looked directly at the council. "But fear is what broke me." Her voice trembled slightly, but she did not stop. "When I was alone, I endured. When I was chained, I survived. But when I was trusted, I chose to protect. Ethan stood beside her, not touching her, just present. I do not want to be used, Lyra said. I do not want to be feared. I want to decide who I am. The council chamber was completely silent now. You fear what you cannot control, Ethan added calmly. Humans learned something long ago. Love is not a weapon. It is a choice. One council member spoke quietly. And if we let her choose? What if she turns against us? Lyra answered before Ethan could. Then it will be my decision, she said. Not your fear. That answer carried more strength than any display of power. The council leader closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. The transport order is suspended, she said slowly. A breath passed through the room. Lyra will remain on Station Virex, she continued, not as an asset, but as a resident. Some protested. Others remained silent. Ethan felt something ease in his chest. Not victory, but relief. Lyra turned toward him, her expression soft but strong. You did not save me, she said quietly. You stood with me. Ethan nodded. That is what humans do. But outside the chamber, unseen by them, orders were being questioned. Old fears still whispered. Not everyone accepted the decision. And as Lyra and Ethan left the chamber side by side, both of them knew the hardest test was still ahead. The decision of the council did not bring peace. It only changed the shape of the tension. Station Virex looked calm again. Corridors clean, lights steady, voices controlled. But underneath, fear had not disappeared. It had gone quiet. Ethan Cole felt it as he walked beside Lyra through the central hall. Crew members stepped aside respectfully. Some nodded, some stared, some watched with eyes that carried doubt. Lyra noticed it too. She kept her posture steady, her movements calm, but her senses remained alert. They are still afraid, she said softly. Yes, Ethan replied, but fear does not last when truth stands long enough. That truth was tested sooner than either of them expected. Late in the cycle, a restricted alert flashed across Ethan's terminal. Unauthorized transport approaching. No council clearance. Ethan stopped walking immediately. That is not routine, he said. Lyra felt the change in the air. Her hair lifted slightly, responding to tension. They are coming for me, she said, not surprised. Security forces moved quickly through the station, not toward the docks, but toward Lyra. A senior officer appeared, voice controlled but cold. The council's decision is under review, she said. For station safety, Lyra will be transferred. No, Ethan replied calmly, stepping forward. She has a choice now. This is not your authority, the officer snapped. Ethan did not raise his voice. I do not need authority, he said. I need time. Lyra looked at him, searching his face. You should step aside, she said gently. They will not harm you. Ethan shook his head once. Humans do not step aside when something is wrong. Security weapons activated. Not firing, but ready. The transport docked with a low mechanical sound. Heavy boots echoed through the corridor. Lyra closed her eyes briefly. Old memories tried to rise. Chains, orders, fear. Then she felt something steady beside her. Ethan's presence. Calm and unmoving. She opened her eyes and made her decision. I will not go, she said clearly. I will not fight, but I will not be taken. Energy gathered softly around her. Not sharp, not violent, controlled and precise. The lights dimmed slightly, not failing, adjusting. Ethan stepped in front of her, unarmed, hands visible, posture relaxed. She saved you, he said to the armed crew. She chose you. If you take her now, you prove nothing except your fear. No one moved. The moment stretched. Then one guard lowered her weapon. Slowly, deliberately, another followed. The senior officer hesitated, looking around, seeing doubt spread faster than orders. The unauthorized transport powered down, its presence suddenly unnecessary. Lyra let the energy fade. The station systems stabilized fully. No damage, no threat. The crisis ended not with force, but with refusal. Later, the council issued a final statement. Lyra's status permanently changed. Not weapon, not asset, but citizen. Ethan's role was reviewed as well. He was offered reassignment, promotion, distance. He declined them all. "I am where I am needed," he said simply. Weeks passed. Station Virex adapted, as humans always believed systems could. Lyra walked freely now, learning, observing, choosing. Her presence no longer cleared rooms, filled them. Crew members asked questions instead of avoiding her. Fear slowly replaced by understanding. One quiet cycle, Lyra stood with Ethan at the observation window, stars drifting endlessly beyond the glass. "You were not afraid," she said, "even when everyone else was." Ethan considered that. "Fear exists," he replied, "but humans learned long ago that fear is not a guide." She touched her own braided hair thoughtfully. "One gentle touch changed everything," she said. Ethan nodded. "Because it was not meant to control. It was meant to acknowledge." Across the station, life continued, stronger for what it had faced. And somewhere in the official archives, a simple note was added to human records. Humans